Stop seeking and start shining. Welcome to a 22-minute bite-sized experiential session created to activate and empower your soul's unique purpose, which is not a destination, but it's a magical daily odyssey. Your moment to shine is here, and I'm your host, Julie Suen. Aloha, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Shine 22-minute soul purpose activation. Today, I am delighted and honored to have Eric Roth as our featured guest on the show. Eric Roth is a shamanic astrologer. He is the founder of Inspiral Nexus, and I love the tagline that he has on his website. It's discover your soul's intent through alchemy and astrology. He offers readings, classes, mentoring, astrocartography, and he presents in numerous classes and live sessions, especially in Oregon. So I just want to point that out in case you are in the area, that you may be able to check that out and benefit from these live presentations and sessions. And you could find out more about these events on his website under the heading Events and Classes. So without further ado, this is Eric. I personally had a session with him recently, and I really got a lot of insights and benefited from it. So I'm happy to invite him onto Shine. Is there anything you would like to add to that introduction, Eric?
Thank you, Julie. It's great to be here. I also just like to add that I write. I don't know if you mentioned the book that I wrote, but I also write. Okay, Sacred Hearth Within is the book I have. It's available on Amazon as an ebook and as print, and it's about Vesta, the asteroid Vesta in astrology. And I continually write updates and posts on social media. And, if you follow me on those channels, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn and YouTube, you'll get regular updates as to what's going on with the stars and the planets and the signs. And I've had quite a powerful journey to get to where I am today and continue to unfold for me. But there's definitely a lot happening in astrologically this month and beyond that is really amazing, that you can tune into by following me on these various outlets.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So if I wanted to find you on Facebook, what is my search term?
It's the business name, Inspiral Nexus.
Inspiral Nexus. Perfect.
Yep.
And let me just spell that out. Is INSPIRAL Nexus NEXUS.com.
Yes.
And then what is your handle on Instagram?
It's the same. It's at Inspiral Nexus. Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something about your journey. Tell us about that. How did you get connected with the stars and become an astrologer, and not just any astrologer, but a shamanic astrologer?
Yeah, it's certainly, they could tell a long version and a short version. So I'll tell a shorter version. So I was, just a few years after my divorce in my 20s, I experienced what I can call just an awakening on a spiritual level for myself, and started really discovering things around me that were, beyond just the normal mainstream, conventional way of going about, just engaging my senses in ways that I hadn't before. And also, just this insatiable curiosity for the meaning and truth of who we are. And so I constantly read books about, even starting with cosmology. I read books about God. I read books about shamanism, which eventually led me to a shamanic counselor And through her work, she had a partner. His name was Daniel Giamario. And I went to a workshop in Oregon here at Brighton Bush Hot Springs where they taught shamanic astrology and shamanic breathwork. And it was through that work that I discovered shamanic astrology, and it spoke to my soul. That work did, and because it had brought in not only what you would generally read and like basic level, information about horoscopes, but we talked about actually going under the stars and learning the stories of the stars and how it really speaks to the essence of who we are as human beings. And that really, caught my attention. And so I started taking in-person courses, which Daniel Giamario called intensives, over a period of some years. And it took me quite a while through work I was doing. I was already had some other work that I was engaged in, middle world work with commercial insurance, and eventually that I was able to remove myself out of that. I was doing both insurance and astrology for a while in the early years. I became a practitioner in 2010, like fully doing readings, and that's when I just created the business in Spiral Nexus. IN can be both inspiration and integration, and the spiral meaning the spiral of life, and the nexus is the connection point between the earth and the sky. So it's bringing all of that together into one. And that was what part of that came through in a dream. The other part came through just meditation and, wondering and calling out things what might work for me and my description of what I wanted to present as an individual into the world. And I continue to go on this journey. So now up 14 years, I've been doing this and continue to do talks and classes and write up things, including a future. I do have plans to write more books as well. So that is in the cards. But that was that you can call it the kind of the nutshell of my journey. And anything that speaks to my soul, anything that calls to my heart, it's something that I follow.
That's beautiful. And clearly the stars call to your heart and your soul.
Yes, they
Yeah,
do.
I personally believe that we're from the stars, and that's what we know that we're made of the stars
Mm-hmm.
material, like biologically. And I actually wrote a short story that's being published in June as well. And it's a story about how I connected with these mountains here in Hawaii. So I live on the island of Oahu, and I've been living here for about 11 years. And there was this one mountain that brought back all of this cosmic remembrance for me. I visited it. I've heard it's a sacred site. And just kind of going around this mountain and seeing all these rocks and being really curious about them and connecting with them. And the same night, I had all these visions. They were in the form of a dream, but not really, because I was so active in them. I was moving and I found myself dancing, like doing this hula dance. And I don't know how to dance hula, but the movements were that of a hula, like very similar. And just found myself doing that while I'm in like a half sleep state. And all at the same time, these higher beings, they were showing me all of the connections of the mountain ranges, like where the range peaked, it connects to a certain constellation, and the
Mm-hmm.
rocks that were around this mountain, they all connect to a certain constellation. And this dance, this movement were done around this mountain because that is how the people, the ancient people, I'm guessing, that were there, that's how we would worship the stars and connect to them. What you said about shamanic astrology and what you learn about our connection, that's what brought up this memory for me. And I love that you have this connection and you bring that into your work, because astrology in and of itself, we're just looking at the birth dates and, the charts and things like that. It's missing that soul aspect. And that
Hmm.
soul aspect is really our origin, our cosmic origin.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
Well, there throughout history, ancient peoples throughout almost no matter what culture they come from, they had a very deep connection with the stars and the planets, and different forms of astrology were kind of weaved into that space. An example, I'm actually what you were talking about, how the landscape or the mountains in connection to various constellations and stars. The Lakota people of North America, they have every year they connect a particular region of the sky called the Sacred Hoop of Stars to the Black Hills area of the Dakotas, and that is something that was part of their own cultural rites and initiations as a people. And so that, like as above so below, they really integrated that in a masterful way. There are some books that are out there about that, and so that's just an example of many examples out there where ancient peoples looked at the sky as a reflection of us, and that we were a reflection of them. So it went both ways. So we co-create in unison with the sky and the earth.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah. So before we started the session, I disclosed to Eric that we right now is the beginning of April, and we had just had this lunar eclipse at the end of March with the full moon, and I felt completely wiped out from that. And then Eric mentioned that there is a solar eclipse, and I mean this is kind of all over the news if you follow it. There is, and they call it the Great Eclipse on April 8th, 2024. And I asked Eric if he felt affected by these eclipse energies, and from an astrology standpoint, what he may point out that that we can learn from these eclipses and how it may impact us, and as well how we may work with the energies of the eclipse to empower us. So I'm going to get Eric to share some of that. The lunar eclipse already passed. So if you want to talk briefly about that, that's cool. But I feel like what's percolating in the field is this great eclipse of April 8th, which of course is a 1 day event, but I can feel that it has significant effects in the long run for those who are working with these energies. So please share your wisdom on this.
Yeah, this upcoming eclipse on April 8th, that will be total in the parts of the United States and in Mexico and up through the Great Lakes area, along the U.S. Canada border in the Ohio Valley and Texas. This eclipse is taking place in the sign of Aries, but in the constellation of the fish. So constellations and signs are different. But and there are videos out there that can share the differences between the two. But this eclipse is one of the major highlights of this, is that you've got a total solar eclipse, which is the moon covering the total disk of the sun. And with this eclipse, those two bodies, celestial bodies, is also the planetary body Chiron, which is a planetary type body, asteroid type body that orbits between Saturn and Uranus. That is going to be exactly conjunct the eclipse at 19 degrees and 24 minutes Aries, so in the sign of Aries. And Chiron astrologically represents our collective wound, our fracture point. And so this eclipse has a really pronounced energy around us being able to heal ourselves, us being able to work with integrating our past wounds, our collective energy to really go inward and do some deeper work. And I talked about the sign of Aries, how it's kind of this martial, mission oriented, individualist type of energy that wants to, that works through instinct and intuition. So this is a chance for us for Aries to go to kind of deepen itself into the mysteries of how it can heal itself and how it can be vulnerable in the world, rather than only coming from a place of just fighting with strength and never showing your weaknesses and never showing your vulnerabilities. To be human is to be able to show those vulnerabilities, to be able to work with them, and it's part of the overall whole. And so this eclipse is giving us an opportunity to do that on a collective level. And for those personally impacted by this, if you have things in the sign of Aries within about 10 degrees of the eclipse, or Cancer, or Capricorn, or Libra, you will also be impacted by that eclipse, in a more direct fashion. But really, even if you don't, eclipses have impact more than just the location that they're happening in. So this is a global phenomenon. This is not just only the US and Canada and Mexico here. We've got much more going on than just that. So, the sun and moon are, when they get together like that, there's a massive energetic impact on the planet. Even there's a physical impact on the crust of the earth, and of course the tides. But in our bodies, in our psyche, in our soul, we are impacted by this, and it can lead to, as you described, Julie, there can be kind of a draining, but it also a sense of, like, when I witnessed the 2017 eclipse in Oregon, I had never seen a total solar eclipse. I'd seen partial ones before that. And it, to me, was being at the foot of the cosmic temple, that there was no other, all the trivial thoughts in my brain were just released. And all I could be is in the presence of something beyond myself that is almost sometimes beyond description, that the intellect can only partially apprehend, that there is much more, there's a deeper dynamic happening that our genetically our souls are connected to in ways that we can't even fathom as we grow into it. So this I for those that are able to travel to that area or live in that area, please do and witness this, because it is something outstandingly powerful. Again, this is on the 8th of April. So lots to uncover with that, but the ramifications are not just the one day, but they can last, up to a period, like there's ones that can last up to, like, necessarily like cycles of 6 months, but then beyond that up to 18 and a half to 19 years when you're dealing with eclipses, because this eclipse won't happen in this area of the sky again until at least with the north node, which is a north node eclipse. So there's a lot of future ramifications, but all the way until another 18 and a half to 19 years when the nodes come back to their original position of where they were, in April here of 2024.
Yeah, wow. I I'm just feeling into what you said about the last eclipse that you witnessed in Oregon, and I was just feeling into those energies, and it's it's profound. And I would encourage all of those who are listening to this to tune into your own emotions and what your inner guidance tells you about the eclipse, because I do know there are a lot of narratives around it, whether it's astrological or, on an energetic standpoint. But at the end of the day, it's you. It has to be completely unique to you. So
Hmm.
I would qualify everything that we say on the show with that. It's really, you have to tune into it. You have to find the meaning behind it on your
Hmm.
own. Like me being significantly more tired from the lunar eclipse, I knew my higher guidance was clear that it's my release and purging of anything that is out of alignment. Even though that may be the themes around the eclipse, but you have to find your own themes. Having said that, you talked about Aries and those who have signs in Cancer and Capricorn, as well as Libra. Those folks with these alignments in their astrological chart may be impacted by this eclipse season. I'm particularly interested because I have my sun in Cancer and my rising in Capricorn, my north node in Cancer, and my south node in Capricorn. So for those of us that maybe directly impacted in our astrology charts, would you say something to that?
Yeah, this would be really a focus on, well, for all these signs that you mentioned, including you, of course, on doing some healing work in that area. This is, the it's just a good time. This is obviously, if you happen to be in somewhere where you are with a large gathering and there's a lot of good vibes going on, that's fantastic. But just to give yourself some space to do some inner work, meditation, thinking about your future, but also like what are your wounds and how can you work with them in a more healthy manner in your life. And when we have things that we lose, we have, whether it be a wound around self-love or betrayal, or some kind of a victimization of some sort, or perfection, we've got to look at those more closely. And the sign of Aries, this could be like, well, are we focused on such and such a thing, and we're not able to see in the peripheral vision? What are we missing in that, and is it impacting our life, and if so, in what way? So this is an eclipse that's really deeper into the unconscious. It's in the psyche, and it's not so much really showing on the surface, except when we see some things in the world and the violence that goes on in the world with the various wars and other things. We know that there's a lot of wounded people out there that are unable to or have no opportunities to, or haven't the tools to look at themselves to be able to go in and help themselves and face who they are, and for various reasons. But this is a chance that, on a collective level, for us to do that. And for those that are impacted by this eclipse, particularly on a personal level, this is your opportunity for that. On a collective level, for the rest of us, that's, I have a Capricorn rising, and my ascendant and descendant are definitely on that square to this eclipse, within about 5-ish degrees of that eclipse, which again happens at the 19 degree and 24-minute mark. For those that are more have greater aptitude with astrology, for example, and know where their things are, you can look at that more closely there. But there's eclipse seasons that happen. They happen every 6 months. There'll be another one in October this coming year, and so we'll get a chance to September, October. We'll get a chance to experience another round. But this is a total solar eclipses are certainly not to be taken lightly, but they're part of the regular experience of humanity and of the cosmos, and it is always worth witnessing and or feeling into yourself, even if there's clouds and you're not able to see it. Just, it's happening. Just tune into it. Just allow your ego to kind of take a back seat, and just open to what you're feeling at that moment. Open to what you're experiencing, what is coming in. More than just thoughts, but feelings in particular are going to be really important. Yeah.
Do you have any guidance on working with the eclipse energy to align ourselves with our purpose, with our higher purpose?
This would be to a lot of what I've just shared would be a great exercise for each person to do. It could also be helpful in this, maybe not necessarily during the exact eclipse, but maybe creating a vision board for yourself, or maybe writing something in a journal, and pay attention to your dreams as well. These would be really good. These are tools and ways for spirit creation to connect with you as an individual, and for things to come up, for your psyche to connect with you, and be able to share what is there. Just like in dreams, we have the subconscious trying to communicate, and even the unconscious also trying to communicate. These are ways to do it, and it's not so much what you're trying to analyze something, but it's more coming from the senses that go beyond just the five senses. So those would be something you can practice with. But for most people, if that's all you can do is maybe just a simple meditation, that's perfect. But what I would recommend is you go inward into that, and not like, obviously there's going to be people that are going to study it from a scientific perspective, but going inward is going to be the best course of action. And look at what is, put an inquiry into your life. Like, what is your purpose? Is this the right course for you? Think of it as an intersection in your life. Is this the right way? And if it is, then you can continue to go, or maybe there's something you can improve. Maybe there's something you want more. And this is a chance for you to do that, and check in, because only the individual really knows what they're going to really resonate with, what they're going to align with. So that is, in the deepest of the deep, that is where the truth is held.
Yeah, and bringing it back to kind of a full circle, use our connection to the stars and ask the stars for assistance and support.
Mm-hmm.
I know you are. I know you talk to the planets.
Yes.
And I talk to the stars. So, or they're the same sometimes. So, yeah, tap into that, because if we are made of the same materials, that's where we're from. They are, in a sense, our ancestor, and we can call on the stars to support us.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any particular planets that you would suggest for us to connect with around this time?
Well, the sun and moon, obviously,
Yeah.
beautifully, and Chiron as well. But there's also a couple other places where on April 20th we have a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. The entire month of April is loaded, and this is a really rare. It only happens every 13 and a half years or so, 13 to 14 years. And tuning into those planets also will be of great help during this month. Now, Mercury is also retrograde for the majority of this month. So we have, and in fact, Mercury's in Aries, and it's only 6 degrees away from the eclipse with Eris. So there's a lot taking place, a lot in Aries. So these planets that I'm mentioning, these are the ones that I would recommend to connect into for guidance, for understanding. In fact, just to cap this off, and I may have shared this before, but the word understanding literally is standing under, meaning standing under the sky. So you are getting that knowledge in that way. You are understanding, you're standing under. So think of that, put yourself into that concept, and feel into what it means to you, to each individual. And that's where that's why we have humanity has its stories in the sky. Their stories are forever. They can never be dispersed, and they could never be destroyed. They're there with us, and our ancestry and our future is all connected into that space. So it's a chance for us to really open to that. It's part of our language. It's part of our culture. as on a global level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So let me share with our listeners that Eric has gifted us a video, and it is an introduction to the essence of astrology as an experiential journey that shares about the origins of the zodiac and the signs. And I would encourage you to check out this video. For those of you who are on my email subscriber list, you will receive a link directly to your inbox. If you're not a subscriber yet, it's really easy. Just go on my website, juliesuen, SUEN.com, and you may subscribe that way, and you will receive the show notes, the links to the gifts that are offered by our guest speakers. And yeah, I would just encourage everyone to really tune inward to what your energies are telling you during this eclipse, after the eclipse, and align yourself with what really is working in your life, what really feeds and nurtures your soul, what makes you feel vital and alive, and what doesn't. What feels like dragging you down, what feels like you are putting on a 50-pound backpack all the time, and see if there are shifts that you can work with. Regardless of what's happening in the cosmos, because we are so intrinsically connected to all of that in the stars and the skies and the planets, we intuitively have these indicators within that are talking to us all the time. So I love all of the things that were shared today by Eric. And I would encourage all of you to check out his amazing website and get a session if you feel aligned. Much gratitude. And until next episode, aloha, everybody.